Hi guys, here I am back again. Part 2 of our notes videos. So we are going to do now subtraction of fractions. Subtraction of fractions, kind of like that. Alright, so here we go. Here is our example and our notes. To get us started, of course, whenever we deal with fractions, we must have common denominators. So, denominators are the bottom part of your fraction. The numerator is the top part. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger, I am the denominator. Low, deep voice. Okay, that was my really bad impression. Sorry about that. And I'm the numerator because it's at the top. All right. So first thing we need to do is we need to change our numerator and the denominator by multiplying because we need to have the same denominator so that we can combine them or subtract them in this case. So we are going to multiply again by using, if we're multiplying, that means we're kind of looking for the LCM or sometimes, which is least common multiple. You might also see someone say LCD, least common denominator. So what we're looking at is we're looking at the 3 and we're looking at the 8. So we're going to look at the 3 and we're going to look at the 8 and we are going to find what they do have in common. So I'm going to make my T-chart so I can find common multiples. And I'm looking for the first multiple that they have that are alike. So we're going to count by 3s. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, and 24. And I'm going to stop there. That's a pretty long list. And let's do 8s. 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 3 is 24. I'm going to stop right there. Stop right there. And we found 24. They have the number 24 in common. So now we can change both of these fractions, keeping them equivalent, but with denominators of 24. So I'm going to start with 2/3. And we want to get it to be with a denominator of 24. So how do I go from 3 to 24? Well, times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 3 times 8 is 24. And then whatever we do to the denominator, we must do to the numerator. So 2 times 8 is 16. So our first changed equivalent fraction, 2/3, is the same thing as 16/24. We are going to go ahead and switch over to our other fraction, 3/8. And we want our 3/8 to equal something over 24. And if I look at my chart here, 8 times 1, 8 times 2, 8 times 3. 8 times 3 is 24. So whatever we do to the denominator, we must do to the numerator. So 3 times 3 is 9. So now I have two fractions, 16/24 and 9/24. I now can combine them or I can subtract them. But we look up here, it says subtract. So that's exactly what we're going to do. So we are going to subtract our numerators, but keep the denominator the same. So we're going to take our 16 over 24 and subtract it from 9/24. And 16 minus 9 is 7/24. All right, and then final last step is to simplify. And is there anything I can divide 7 and 24 by to make the fraction smaller? And the answer is no. So my answer is 7 and 24. 7 over 24. All right, moving right along. We do our improper or mixed numbers, I should say. Mixed numbers. Again, mixed numbers must also have common denominators. So we are going to subtract the fractions first. And then we subtract the whole numbers. Make sure you underline that. So let's go ahead and take a look at our fractions. And I'm going to pull my fraction out. I have 3 over 4. And we're going to subtract that from 7 over 8. I'm just going to pull the fraction part. I'm going to leave this out for right now and just kind of not worry about the whole numbers. Let's just look at the fractions. So I need to find a common denominator for 4 and 8. So we're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to make my T-chart. If you don't need the T-chart, that's fabulous. That's fantastic. Before your notes, put it in there so you always have that reference as to what they have in common. So I'm going to start with my tables of 4. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 12, 16, 20, and I'm going to stop right there. 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. I'm going to stop before we go any further because 8 and 8. Even though they both have 16 in common also, 8 is least common multiple. Oop, thought I was going to sneeze. Almost. All right, didn't have to. All right, so we have the 8. So I look at my two fractions and I notice this one already has a denominator of 8. So I really only need to change this fraction right here. So 3/4 equals what over 8? Well, I multiply by 1, 2. 4 times 2 is 8. So 3 times 2 is 6. So 3/4 is the same thing as 6/8. So now my next part of my problem is to go 6/8 minus 7/8. Uh-oh, we have a problem. We can't take 6 away from 7. So what do we have to do? That is when we must borrow. We must borrow by taking 1 away from the first whole number. So our first whole number is a 3. So we have 3 and 6/8 minus 1 and 7/8. So we're going to take 1 away from that 3 and make it a 2. And if we borrow 1, we learn this in a lot of our Thinker Thursdays. If we take 1 away, what would be a fraction with 8? That would be the same thing as 1. 8 over 8. So we're going to take that 8, and we're going to add it to the 6. 8 plus 6 is 14 over 8. So now we have 2 and 14 over 8, which is the same thing as 3 and 6/8. We have now an improper fraction in there. Minus 1 and 7/8. And now we should be able to subtract our fraction from our fraction and our whole number from our whole number. So 2 minus 1 is 1. And 14 minus 7 is 7. So we have 1 and 7/8 as our final answer. So the new numerator is found by adding the numerator and, oh, we missed a word, and keeping the denominator. Got to add that word in there. Keeping the denominator. And always, last step, if we need to, simplify if possible. And we don't have to simplify. There's nothing we can divide 7 or 8 by to make it smaller or to simplify it. So we are good to go. And that is your subtracting of fractions.